Stunned is an understatement when my team told me that over 3 million people watched the video of my engagement announcement. Not out of vanity, but out of humility. After 11 years of being divorced, the thought of eternal commitment was fleeting. Dr. Carriana Turner was what I needed in space I didn't even know I needed it in. And living in public space comes with unqualified critics and underloved analysts. Only those who have navigated the trauma of divorce understand the doubts of devotion. It's akin to trying to sell a ticket on a Carnival cruise ship after escaping the Titanic. I don't say it out of jest, but in all seriousness, that if the truth be told, the last thing you ever want to do is rush back to something you failed in. Nobody who wasn't good in algebra pre-registers for calculus. Summer school is the circle for the miserable. We all knew why we were there, and that it was necessary in order to be promoted to the next level. It makes sense for math, but it's hard to digest in matters of the heart. To escape the serious complexities of more emotions, people settle for situationships. They get comfortable dismissively saying, "It's complicated." They suppress their conscience by feasting on the scraps somebody married throws at them. They learn how to yield their bodies without attaching their hearts. And there's a host whose mate has become food. They have tryst with getting new shoes. Or they make porn their compliant partner, but love is nowhere on the table. It's convenient how many people willfully forget that Ruth, who is the central character of our text, was married before. She wasn't just married, she was happily married. It was a dream. They were a power couple. They were the envy of the village. He was handsome, he was holy, he was hardworking. And in a million years, she would have never imagined that he would suddenly die, and on top of that, leave no insurance policy. Unfortunately, those of you who are adults in this room have discovered that life does not come with yellow lights. It just keeps going with no warning. There was no yellow light when you discovered a lump in your breast while in the shower. There was no yellow light when you were terminated from employment after you overperformed. There was no yellow light when your carburetor just stopped working. You had no yellow light when a side chick called your phone. It just happens out of nowhere, with no warning and with no signal. One chapter, Ruth is a housewife, and the next chapter, she's a field worker. Senator Vance doesn't even see her as a woman because she hasn't borne any children. to suggest that the sum total of her identity is what came out of her womb and not what is in her mind. Ruth previously had a white-collar lifestyle, and now she has a blue-collar existence. She is trying to provide not just for herself, but she's trying now to provide for her mother-in-law. Can you imagine the trauma of now having to get up in the morning and work the field? Her back hurts. Her shoulders has knots. She has cramps in her feet. She's having a serial migraine because of the unrelenting Palestinian sun. And nobody's cutting her any slack because you forgot she has no previous work experience. People don't know the twists and the turns that you've had to make just to eat. Not for anything extra, not for anything trying to be cute. You are just trying to do what you can just to eat. People are quick to judge you when they don't know the sacrifices you made. They don't know the toil you've had to endure. They don't have any idea how inhumane you've had to contort your own life just to provide for your family. And you sit here today fighting back the tears with a testimony that many people can't relate to. And your testimony is, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed begging for bread. If you never had to worry about how your children were going to be taken care of, don't shout with us. If you were never nervous about the rent or the car note, don't give God glory with us. If you didn't know how you were going to take the lights on and at the last minute God did it, you don't know what our pain is. But if you learn that if I suffer with him. Field belonging to Boaz, who is from the clan of Elimelech. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go to the fields to pick up the leftover grain behind anybody in whom I find favor in their eyes. Naomi said, go ahead, my daughter. So she went out into the field and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz. I want to preach for a little while today using as a subject, you don't have to play the field. You. Look at the person beside you, tell them, do you hear him talking to you? Amen. Look him in the eye, tell him you ain't got to play the field. You don't.